to an episode of Love and Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I'm going to be recapping episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8 of Love is Blind UK. To say that, I don't know, stuff goes down. It goes down in this week's episode. It was such a crazy batch of episodes, and I can't wait to break it down with you. We've got the mixer before we leave the island. We got the couple by couple breakdown. We got a Katisha and Damali meetup. We got a pod squat meetup. And then, of course, we have the episode 5 mixer that leaves us hanging with a potential couple breaking it off in the long run. Obviously, we kind of have the end of the honeymoon phases of everybody in this mixer with Kieran said he hasn't heard I love you yet. Javon said he and Katisha haven't said it yet either. Cal said it will mean more when Megan does say it to Kieran. These mixers are like way more mature than the US versions. But Billy confronts Javon saying that if he doesn't say yes, he doesn't think that he could do anything. He'd be able to continue to date after the show. Cal continues to bring up Damali at this thing, but kind of going into the couples. Let's talk about these couples, right? And how I'm going to do this is couple by couple of what we see unfold. And I'll put them on the screen for us to kind of look at for those of you here. But for me, first up, obviously Sarover and Cal. I think that I really love that he reassured her about the past of only dating the white women in his previous types. He said she was put at ease by that conversation. They are meeting his family. He tells them that he's engaged to her. Apparently they live far away from one another. That's one of the dynamics about this particular show is seeing that so many of these individuals, like Love is Blind, this upcoming season, Love is Blind, is going to be Love is Blind Denver, Love is Blind, Philadelphia, all those sorts of things. But this particular show is Love is Blind UK, and UK seems to be massive. And because of that, there's so many different people that live all over the place. But I really feel like this was super cute. His mom, and he has never really expressed anything about marriage, but it's a leap of faith. Although his brother was like, if the relationship is going to last, he said if his life was on it, he said no. He said he likes things a certain way, and then if it doesn't start going that way, he veers off and start looking the other way. Apparently his mom, or Sarover's mom's, not very fond of the idea of the experiment. So then, of course, when we get to that meeting with those two, things get interesting. And it was such a struggle to watch this man just absolutely fumble over his words early on. Like, he was actively struggling to communicate with her mom. But I will say this, he was nervous. And I do think that to me was one of the worst parent meetings at first I'd ever seen. But once Sarover stood up and says, you have to trust me, trust this process. She said, I'm putting my relationship with him first. Once she settled into that, it felt like Cal really settled in towards the latter part of the meeting. Her mom was impressed with how he handled himself. He gave their blessing. I felt like this entire scene was very sweet, and it came full circle into the understanding of his emotions towards Sarover and why I liked him so much. I just love the way that Sarover stood up in front of Cal's mom, in front of her mom, and just, he felt like he thought the apartment stages would be the hardest thing for him because he typically wouldn't want to, someone all in his bubble, but he said he has loved that. And she said she has loved that he opened the door for her to speak up and be herself. I really like these two, and I like their dynamic. All right, moving on to Barta and Jed. I just feel very weird about these two. I don't know what it is. It's such an interesting dynamic. The balance of him wanting to be in charge, him wanting to take charge, and her wanting to take charge. Their culture's similarity kind of, meshes really well. I started to like these two over this batch of episodes. Jed's meeting Barta's family. It was really cute. Her mother said, how many children are you going to bring me? She said 6. That was funny. Her father gave him a little something extra in their language, just some sweet, kind words. Her best friend meant business. Barta's best friend, she grilled his ass, was kind of on point with a lot of it. Her mom was skeptical, but Pops was optimistic in their relationship. I like the dynamic they brought here. Another one that I feel like had a really good, strong batch of episodes, right? Kieran and Megan. These two had a pretty solid batch of episodes too. Talked about her mother's relationship being bad, and her put her pause in trusting people. Um, you know, she said she has never been truly in love, hasn't told anyone she loves him yet, and said there will be a perfect moment. He said it's not hard. It's hard not to hear it back. The playful banter between these two really works. I love the scene of them following one another on Instagram, and then like they just had a funny dynamic about watching and looking at their pictures and stuff. I thought that was cute. She said, "I love you" over dinner. He loved that. Kieran takes Megan to his flat. He's a quite small bedroom, but rather badass gaming setup. She's meeting with his friends. Everyone talks about the bubble and making it real. Her friends ask, why does it have to end in marriage? She's like, that's the process. You know what I mean? Hello, quit being losers. Um, yeah. And then, his buddies say a bunch of words that are doubtful, but leads to him saying they support him. Very cute moment as well. We'll go back to those two. Ashley and Billy. He asked for his number. That was cute. This whole thing, he's meeting Ashley's pops. Pops was very like, she was nervous. Pops was like very skeptical. She's like, this is my fiance. He says, getting married fiance. He's like, yeah, he's a bit of a shock. This whole dynamic. He said, I didn't realize I was coming to meet your future husband. That's not really the norm. She said, the wedding's in 3 weeks. He said 3 weeks from today. Like his funny, like one, he's like really trying to figure out the dynamic. What is going on? And how did I get involved in this scenario? You know what I mean? Like that's how I felt like he was playing in this scenario. He got emotional. This entire scene flipped upside down. Like, oh my God, flipped upside down. Was baffled at what we saw in this moment, and it was such a sweet dad moment. You know what I mean? As a dad, I felt every minute of it. These two, everything's going good, and then they go grocery shopping. And Billy acts like a little bit of ass because he's routine. And that's one thing about the military people is like they're very routine in what they do. And he's like a bit odd. He's structured. She's not structured. She confronts him about how he looks at food. He's controlling. She said that he should, that she was kind of bullied as a kid about being a beanpole, and that food kind of helped her become confident. He does say that he will keep trying and move forward and show her that he can change. She makes his father, who's important to him, said before he left that if there was anyone that he was going to date, if there was going to be any stewardess there, he would be back. But if there would be, or he wouldn't, he said if there wasn't any stewardess, he won't be back. But if there is, I'll be back. He did talk about the dynamic of them. The first 6 months are going to be hard, but there's going to be some challenges fixed. She was kind of shocked by his comment. They meet Billy's mom and sister. She said the experiment was perfect for him. Billy's still caught up in the job situation. And it even showed towards the end of the batch. Billy said he's struggling and he's kind of torn down the middle. She said, I wasn't expecting you to be 50-50. She said, I love you so much. I see it working through it. The first 6 months are going to be hard, and it can settle it and make it work. She said, she is so yes right now. I love you. I want to do this. And she was kind of heartbroken. He said, it's not a no. I'm looking at it from different angles. And she was super confused and super duper sad. All right. And then, of course, our last of the three couples here, we had such an interesting dynamic with these two, is Javon and Katisha. A lot of things happened here. So we see that there was a meetup between, eventually there's like arguments between these two, which leads to a meeting between Katisha and Devon, Damali, sorry, Devon. And I thought that went well. I thought that the conversation went well. I even think in that moment I was like, yeah. She realized that like Damali was such a good cat, and I think there was such a dynamic thing. There was the intrigue factor of Javon, I think, you know what I mean? But you can see in this moment where she met with Damali that this man was in love. Like this man loved her a lot. But the entire scene almost like broke my heart. Then there was a dynamic. It's important for her to eat together with one another. He said he works late. He isn't sure that he will always be around to eat dinner together. Doesn't seem to be compromising at all. She meets his family. Her sister heard about the engagement. She's like, engagement? That to me was such an interesting thing. Then becomes the dynamic of the mixer, right? So we had the mixer. And we're switching off the couple just for a second because we're going to go into the mixer. So Once we get into the mixer, Javon said, "I could see the rest of my life, but I'm not sure I am in love yet." To Kieran, he says, "I don't think I am in love." Katisha came up and kind of interrupted almost and said, "I made my decision already." It was like an awkward moment. Patrick arrives, Spleen Boy scroll in and Anu shortly after. Patrick and Anu, she goes around and hugs everyone, but she did not hug him. She said it was like seeing him and it was underwhelming. I was like, damn, a new finna go on, stand on business up in here. She's like, my spleen, my spinal, my rectum. I was just kind of dying. Javon sees a new and says, I wish we would have dated more. Like, what the hell? This dude is crazy. The rest of the crew show up. Javon's head keeps turning and turning and turning, like everybody that walked in. Like my boy saw everybody. Javon and Damali sit down for a chat. Damali says to change in 24 hours. He said it was a blessing in disguise. Katisha's kind of off in the distance. He said, if you ask me right now, I'm not 100% yes. Sophie arrives exactly as I expected her to, jaw-dropping dress. She hugs everyone. Kieran looked right at her and looked right at her ass. And then Javon looked right at Kieran. And Kieran said she's an attractive girl. Patrick in a new chat with one another, she said, you took my experience away from me. She snaps on his ass. I mean, snaps on his ass. Like it was straight, bold snapping. She said, your headscarf looks silly. Someone said his spleen is going to explode. I died laughing. This entire thing. She's like, you're a liar. You know, she just snapped. You took my experience away from me. He said, you're performative. Like this just whole dynamic was awesome. Kieran tells Megan, I feel like I have to talk to Sophie. And I love that he told her that. I love that he went and said, hey, I'm going to go have this conversation. He told Sophie, thank you for being part of his journey. He apologized on how he handled the gift situation. She said, I wish you the best. Kieran and Megan kind of a little weird because she tells Sophie acts a certain way, but he hasn't seen that, so he's not going to be judgmental of her. Weird dynamic there. Sophie does tell somebody else that Kieran isn't her type, but she has an eye for Javon, though. She said that Javon and Katisha don't look like they would work. She hopes they will get married. Javon pulls her for a chat. Sophie said, I can't sit down because everyone would see her vagina, and Javon said, no comment. This entire dynamic was crazy. She asked him if he's happy. He said, I'm always happy. He said, I would be lying if I wasn't 100%. He asked who she's dating. She said, I'm not dating anyone. She says, what do you want from me? And nothing right now is what he said. What? These two were flirting in front of everybody. So he said, I think I think we have something. She said, we haven't finished our connection. There's still more to unpack. Whew. Katisha's pissed. He said, you don't live far from here. She said, 5 minutes. He said, you are naughty. You got to stop. So we get a thing 1 hour later. It's Katisha and Javon. She said she was with, she saw the chat between Sophie and him. He said it was interesting. He said she's funny and good banter. He said it was a good chat with Damali, and that was interesting as well. She said, I'm going to bed. Javon said, I'm going out. He starts crying. So we obviously don't follow them as they go out, but Megan felt a certain way that she needed to talk to Katisha. She expected him to hang out with them, but he was straight with Sophie the entire night. She said she saw them going to a photo booth together. Javon got defensive with Megan, saying it was nothing. He started to talk to Yolanda and then Anu. She said she felt like he needed to do that. And he said Yolanda, Anu, and Katisha make him happy. Megan said he wasn't acting like he had a fiance. Woo. She goes home, starts packing her bags. He said he was in the photo booth and they were arguing. Javon says he brings up how Megan and how he was acting. Javon said that she has been filled with misinformation. He said there's no funny business, so to speak. Javon said he was not with them all night. Megan said she told Katisha the facts of what she saw. She said, all I saw was with the girls. He said, I was arguing with Sophie. Kieran said, so that interesting dynamic, right? So that to me led to the moment where she writes a note and says, I has no desire to speak to Javon ever again. And Javon opens the letter, and then he found the ring. He smiled. He threw the note in the trash. He said he's pissed off because she believes Megan over him. He said he knows what happened and other people to tell him. He wants Megan and Kieran to hash things out for the real truth. Javon calls Spleen Boy, who, claims to have his back. And of course, have your act bros before hoes type of scenario. And then we get the meeting between Javon and Kieran and Megan. And this is one of the craziest meetups ever, right? Because she's yelling, he's yelling. He said, I was arguing with Sophie, Kieran, and I think the photo booth wasn't closed. And then Kieran steps up and goes, hey, the curtain was closed on the photo booth, which was holy shit. Kieran standing on business saying he saw that too. She said, he said he would fuck Sophie apparently. Holy things get heated. She said, see you later, Jav. See you never fucking again, prick. And then Megan said that she's had arguments with people like this and she had to remove herself from the scenario. He said he didn't mean to make her cry to Kieran and left. Javon said, when you call people out, they get mad. Nah, boy, you're just a fuck boy. I mean, let's be real, guys. That's just what this is at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I am not shocked at the reaction of how he acted here. To me, it was just, it's kind of exactly what you expect from him. I mean, let's be real. But all right, folks, let's dive into the 4 remaining couples left on Love is Blind UK. So here are my predictions as we head into the final 2 episodes of the season. All right, so first things first, Ashley and Billy. I waver back and forth on these two because I'm like, there's such a strong foundation, but the whole job situation seems like it's going to cause problems. And I don't think Billy can get over it. So right now, I do believe it's going to be the scenario where she says he has to say yes or no first. And I do think he's going to say no. I think he's going to try to say, hey, we'll try to explore things afterwards, see if we can make it work, but I just can't marry you right now. Now, Cal and Sarover. I really have my eggs in the basket for these two. I try not to watch the scenes for next time's episode, but to me, like I couldn't help it. But I am going to go based off of what we saw in this batch. Right now, I'm going to say yes for Sarover. Cal, for some reason, says no. Kieran and Megan, I don't know really what could break these two up. I feel like the banter's strong, the chemistry strong, the physicality is there as well. To me, Kieran, Megan get married. Final, Jed and Barta. I don't know. Like they seem like one of those couples that shouldn't work but do work, and I don't know what would stop them from getting married. But something about this leans to me that Jed says no, I think, and Barta maybe says yes, or he just goes first and says no. I just think that maybe we only get one married couple out of this, and I think it's Kieran and Megan. What do you guys think? What are your predictions heading into the finale of Love is Blind UK? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be back next week breaking down the final 2 episodes.